everybody. My name is Ed Albinsky, and this is the Old Bethpage Village Brass Band. We're stationed here 25 or 26 times a year with all kinds of things, including during the Christmas holidays. We play here in our 1890s long coats and top hats and things. In this case, it's the 4th of July. So we thought we were going to play some things that you might hear at a 4th of July concert. The first one we're going to play is the songs around 1850, 1860 that were considered the national airs. And national airs were just a string of songs that everybody knew that went along with the United States. The Star-Spangled Banner wasn't the official song until 1931. So before that, they played all kinds of things. The Navy played the Star-Spangled Banner because Franklin Delano Roosevelt liked that, Teddy Roosevelt liked that. But in any case, the three songs that we have here, the first one is called Doodle. So Yankee Doodle was one of our national songs that was used, when they had rallies and things like that, or as a national song. Then we have the next one they just called the Banner, and that is what became our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. And then you're going to see hear a piece called Hail Columbia, and that was one of the other ones that was in the running. And of course, like with all political things, there's people vying for this tune, vying for that tune, and all this kind of stuff. And as it turns out, an old English drinking song won, because that's what the Star-Spangled Banner was. An old English, what is it? Was it Old Carol?
To Anacreon in Heaven.
Anacreon in Heaven was the original song that we changed the words to make our national song. So in any case, this is called National Airs. It's by a gentleman named, arranged by a gentleman named Gifford back in the 1850s.
First ending is out, right? The band. The first ending is out.
That's right. And then the other ones are no repeat as well.
Okay.
Only other repeat, earlier repeats are good.
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
did not stand up, you were correct, because those rules only came into the 1931 legislation, where they gave all the places that you could play it, when you could do it, and what you did. When I was an Air Force band commander, I had to call Washington to see if the band was supposed to stand up when we played the Star-Spangled Banner. And it was a mixed thing. Sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't. If it was the orchestra, you didn't, because you had cellos that had to sit and things like this. So there's all kinds of rules, and they had to look it up for me. And as it turns out, we could sit down if we were in a playing position. So lots of rules with that legislation. Anybody want to read that legislation? Be my guest. Next, and at all the concerts and things like this, they would play other things besides national songs and things. The next one we're going to do is we're going to play a waltz. This is called the Babel Wars. Lots of songs were named after ladies of the time. Sometimes they knew the lady, sometimes they use a pseudonym for their wife or something like that. This one is called Babel Wars. This is by a fellow named Godfrey. And you want to do the introduction, guys?
Yes.
We do. Okay, that's a very positive note. Sometimes we don't do the introduction to these songs, but the introduction was very important because that was the time when you got up and asked the lady to dance. Usually the men were on one side of the room, the ladies on the other, and even at a park like this, people would get up and invite a lady to dance, and that was the introductory part, and then they would start the waltz, and then you would proceed to dance.
Well, first one. All right, just 3 beats. 1, 2, 3.
dances, they could repeat that over and over and over again, depending on how long the people wanted to dance. So next we're going to play for you a piece. This has got a little hometown flavor here, hometown flavor. This is called Dixie Gallop. And this is typical of pieces by brass arrangers of the time. This is Frederick B. Helmsmuller. Anybody know him? Okay. But anyway, this is one of his pieces. It was written in 1861. And the local flavor is that was written for Miss Emma H. Tukey from Setauket, Long Island. So what happens a lot of times with these pieces is the composer will write a piece of music, and then he'll meet someone, at a party, something. He says, "Oh, look, I'm going to dedicate a song to you," and they write a dedication at the top where they put the lady's name or the gentleman's name on the piece. That's what happened with John Philip Sousa a lot of times. You might know the song "The Fairest of the Fair." It's one of his famous songs, and he was playing at a fair in New England. And there was a lady sitting in front. She stayed for the whole show, and she came up afterward and said hello and how much she liked the music. And he said, "Well, if you come back tomorrow, I'll have a song just for you." And the next day, he brought out this new piece he called "The Fairest of the Fair." And as things would happen, the lady did not show up. So in any case, this is Dixie. Now, you got to listen carefully because this is mostly Helmsmuller. And then you'll hear a little tiny bit of Dixie, and then he goes back to his own stuff. So this is the way they did this. They kind of tease you with this. So see if you can catch the Dixie part of it. 2, 1, 2. Are authentic instruments from the time period. We have things from the 1850s to the 1880s, approximately. We have 2 E-flat cornets. You don't usually see these in bands nowadays. These are the smaller version than the normal trumpet that you see. We have and they have rotary valves. This is a cornet, rotary valve cornet, like the French horn has today. And this is another trumpet, a little different shape and things like that. All of these instruments have 3 valves, and the combinations are, the middle valve is 1 to 2 to 3. You have it in different places of the valves. This is called an alto horn. Its closest modern relative is the French horn. This is pitched in E-flat. Modern French horns 1 step higher in F. And here we have another instrument. Looks quite different, but it's exactly the same. That's also an alto horn. It's just that they bent the tubing to make it look like a trombone. So you could take this tubing as long as you have the right heat and so forth and bend it any way you want. This looks more like the baritone of the tuba. And back here we have the tenor horn. This is very popular during the Civil War. The tenor horn, very similar in pitch to the baritone, which is next to it. Right away here. The tubing, this is very skinny tubing, this is a little fatter tubing, but the length is the same. And then we have our tuba. No, the other one. Get off the cell phone. Okay. Tuba. And effectively, since there's only one of them here, we call them a one-ba. Yep, thank you. Okay, and we have rope tension drums. Normally the drums you see have plastic heads. These are calfskin heads, and they tighten with these ropes and leather thongs that pull them together. You'll see them in between putting them out in the sun so they dry out. If you were marching with an army and it was raining, you didn't get any drums because they just went before. Okay, and they were the same from like the Revolutionary War all the way through the Civil War and so forth and so on. So those are our instruments. They're all all antiques. This one I think is 1870. It hasn't been repaired too much. A couple of them have been repaired several times. Yeah. Lots of things. Well, if you were 160 or 70 years old, you'd be repaired a few times too. So, okay, next we'd like to play a song for you called "Marching Through Georgia," and this is was famous or written for Sherman, General Sherman, and his march to the sea, which cut the South in half and basically kind of destroyed the Confederacy, really, because they couldn't ship anything north and south of where he went. And he just cut a swath of burning and tearing things down and everything. What do they call them? They made bow ties, they call them. They take the rails from the railroad cars, they put them on a fire, and then people would bend them into a bow, and so that they could never be used again. And so the Confederacy had no way of getting around. In any case, this was written in 1865 at the end of the war, and it became Sherman's theme song. And of course, like many theme songs, if you go making speeches and people want you at their event, and you keep hearing the same song over and over again, you get sick of it. So he really got sick of this song. But it became famous around the world. One of the Russian-Chinese wars were the Japanese invaded a Chinese city back in the 1890s and conquered the city, and as they marched into the city, they played "Marching Through Georgia." And the worst one, if you've been here before, you've heard me say this, but the worst one was when the South was trying to reestablish trade with England. They sent a whole ship of business people over to establish the cotton and all of those trades again. And as they're coming off the boat, the British band played "Marching Through Georgia," which is probably not the best thing to play to the people who just got destroyed by that song. So in any case, this is our "Marching Through Georgia" arrangement that was is by a fellow named Henry Work, and it's revised and made more modern by Campbell. We're actually reading printed music as opposed to some of this other stuff, which is all handwritten music. Back in those days, most of this stuff was handwritten, and somebody nicely fixed it up for us and made it more modern. "Marching Through Georgia."
1, 2.
concert with a piece called Hurrah Storm Gallop. And it's kind of like a little joke piece there, because in the middle it sounds like thunderstorm is coming and so forth. You hear these trills and stuff like this. And then I guess the storm breaks and you'll hear the band singing hurrah, hurrah. So this is a piece from the 1870s, I believe. No, it has to be the 60s, because this is arranged by a fellow named Garfula, who was active in the 40s and the 50s. So no later than the 60s. That's 1860. Here we go.
There you go. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Shade that did it. Thank you. We're going to be back in another 15 minutes with all new tunes.
New sound.